So shake me out, right? It is clear that the economics of oil have changed. This much we know. The market would still be subject to political shocks. So far, the war in the Middle East or the overdue implosion of Vladimir Putin's kleptocracy would have been sending or has been sending the price soaring. But absent such an event, and the oil price should be less vulnerable to shocks or manipulation. Even if the 3 M's extra barrels per day that the US now pumps out is a tiny fraction of the 90 M the world consumes, America's shale is a genuine rival to Saudi Arabia as the world's marginal producer. That should reduce the volatility not just of the oil price but also of the world economy. Oil and finance have proved themselves that are the only two industries able to tip the world into recession. At least my thoughts are that one of them should be in future a bit more stable. On another note, the official charter of OPEC state that the group's goal is the stabilization of prices in international oil markets. It has not been doing such a very good job, this we know. In June, the price of a barrel of oil, then almost a 115 per barrel, began to slide and now it stands close to 70 or below. This near 40% plunge, negative 40%, is thanks partly to the sluggish world economy, which is consuming less oil than markets had anticipated, and partly to OPEC itself, which has produced more than markets expected. But the main culprits are the oil men of North Dakota and Texas. Over the past 4 years, as the price hovered around $110 a barrel, they had set about extracting oil from shale formations previously considered unviable. Their manic drilling, they have completed perhaps around 20,000 new wells since 2010, more than 10 times what Saudi Arabia's tally has boosted America's oil production by a third, to nearly 9 M barrels a day. That is just 1 M short of Saudi Arabia's output. The contest between the shale men and the sheikhs has tipped the world from a shortage of oil to a surplus. Fuel injection is another topic to talk about. Cheaper oil should act like a shot of adrenaline to global growth, right? A $40 price cut shifts from $1.3 trillion from producers to consumers. The typical American motorist who spent $3,000 in 2013 at the pumps might be $800 a year better off, equivalent to a 2% pay rise. Big importing countries such as the Euro area, India, Japan, and Turkey are enjoying especially big windfalls. Since this money is likely to be spent rather than stashed in a sovereign wealth fund, global GDP should rise. The falling oil price will reduce already low inflation still further, and so may encourage central bankers towards looser monetary policy. The Federal Reserve will put off raising interest rates for longer. The European Central Bank will act more boldly to ward off deflation by buying sovereign bonds. In all this, there will, of course, be losers, Oil-producing countries whose budgets depend on high prices are in particular trouble. The ruble tumbled this week as Russia's prospects darken further. Nigeria, well, that has been the case, forced to raise interest rates and devalue the naira. Venezuela looks even closer to defaulting on its debt. The spectra of default and the speed and scale of the price plunge have unnerved financial markets. But the overall economic effect of cheaper oil is clearly a positive one for all of us. Just how positive will depend on how long the price stays low. That is the subject of a continuing tussle between OPEC and the shale drillers. Several members of the cartel wanted to cut its output in the hope of pushing the price back up again. But Saudi Arabia, in particular, seems mindful of the experience of the 1970s, when a big leap in the price prompted huge investments in new fields, leading to a decade-long glut. Instead, the Saudis know, and they seem to be pushing a different tactic. let the price fall and put high-cost producers out of business. That should soon crimp supply, causing prices to rise. Need to be a little more attentive. There are signs that such a shakeout is already underway. The share prices of firms that specialize in shale oil have been swooning. Many of them are up to their derricks in debt, even before the oil price started falling. Most were investing more in the new wells than they were making from their existing ones. With their revenues now dropping so fast, they will find themselves overstretched. A rash of bankruptcies is likely. So that in turn would best batter shale oil's reputation among investors. Even survivors may find the markets closed for some time, forcing them to rein in their expenditure to match the cash they generate from selling oil. Since shale oil wells are short-lived, the output is about 60 to 70% fall in the first year. Any slowdown in investment will quickly translate into falling production. This shakeout will be painful, but in the long run, the shale industry's future seems pretty assured. We talk about fracking, in which a mixture of water, sand, and chemicals is injected into shale formations to release the oil. Is something that is relatively young technology, and it is still making big gains in efficiency. IHS, a research firm, reckons that the cost of a typical project has fallen from $70 per barrel produced to $57 per barrel in the past year, as oilmen have learned how to drill wells faster and to extract more oil for each one of them. The firms that weather the current storm will have masses more shale to exploit. Drilling is just beginning, or may now be cut back in the Niobrara Formation in Colorado, for example, or the Mississippian Lime along the border between Oklahoma and Kansas. Nor need shale oil be a uniquely American phenomenon. There is similar geology all around the world, from China to the Czech Republic, although no other country has quite the same combination of, let's say, eager investors, experienced oilmen, and pliable bureaucrats. The riches on offer must eventually induce shale oil exploration elsewhere. Most important of all of this, investments in shale oil come in conveniently small increments. The big conventional oil fields that have not yet been tapped tend to be in inaccessible spots, deep below the ocean, high in the Arctic, or both. America's ExxonMobil and Russia's Rosneft recently spent 2 months and $700 drilling $1 million single well in Kara Sea, north of the Siberia. Although they found oil, developing it will take years and cost billions. By contrast, a shale oil well can be drilled in as little as a week at a cost of $1.5 million. The shale firms know where the shale deposits are, and it is pretty easy to hire new rigs. The only question is how many wells to drill. The whole business becomes a bit more like manufacturing drinks whenever the world is thirsty. You crank up the bottling plant and everybody goes berserk. For any more questions, please contact me.